Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Just go with the current. This is nice. This is much easier than swimming in this river in February. Ah! Oh! I can tell you that. Oh, yeah. I am James ALOFS. I left the big city to build an off-grid homestead on 40 acres of Canadian wilderness. This area of Ontario has giant ridgelines, deep valleys, and pure rivers. Black bears, gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, and many forest spirits share the land. I started in November 2023. Starting with a modest 12 by 16 foot guest cabin, my goal is to build such a glorious homestead that I attract a magnificent wife, have 10 babies, and raise an Irish wolfhound. Welcome to Wild Homestead. Oh, shit. Got the bear spray. Holy shit. Oh, my God. I don't think she's coming. Mother bear and her cub. That's like worst case scenario, man. Oh, my God. You know, black bears generally are not as aggressive as grizzly bears, but there's actually more people killed by black bears every year in North America than grizzly bears. So this year I think has been a bad year for grizzlies. There's been 3 fatalities that I know of, but generally there's almost 2 people killed per year in North America between the United States and Canada by black bears. So it definitely does happen. And the thing is that when black bears attack humans, you know, they say, if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. Because when black bears do attack humans, if it's a mother defending her cub, it's a different situation. But when it's a lone adult female or lone adult male black bear, they will, if they are attacking you and they don't have any cubs, it's because they want to eat you, which is very interesting. So that's why you have to fight for your life with a black bear. With grizzly bears, the reason they tell you to play dead is that for whatever reason, grizzly bears do not view humans as food. They're just defending territory. So if you play dead with a grizzly bear, chances are it's going to leave you alone. My heart is racing, man. That was a religious experience. I felt like I just came across this sacred forest spirit. Look at that. Oh my God, that's nice. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wild Homestead. It's been 2 weeks of illness, so thanks for being patient, everybody. I went south. I was having intestinal issues, and I could just get better medical care down south. So I went back to Toronto, and it turns out what I ended up having was something called diverticulitis. Basically, it's an inflammation of the large intestine. So I had ultrasound. It actually wasn't constipation, but it kind of had a bit of that sensation to it. So anyways, the doctor, I also saw a naturopath. They both recommended kind of going on an anti-inflammatory and low fiber diet. So I did that, and within kind of just over a week, it started to get better. So that problem was solved. But being in and out of all these doctors' offices, 2 full weeks, a week and a half dealing with intestinal issues, and then a half a week dealing with some kind of summer cold, sore throat, achy, fever. I was out for basically 4 days straight. So it wasn't very restful, but it was needed to recover from my illnesses. So, oh my good Lord. Look at Thor's red oak. He's like doubled in size. Look at that. Unbelievable. Wow. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, he was a good 6 inches or so below the top of this thing, and boom. I just did the mother of all supply runs. I got a whole bunch of gear. I think step number 1 is I got my new tent from White Duck. The people at White Duck, I told the story of what happened. You know, I think user error with my tent burning down last week, and they sent me a new tent free of charge right away. So thank you so much to White Duck. They do make amazing canvas tents. I have been sleeping inside the cabin, and that's been okay. But you know what? There's a ton of interior work left to do. Sleeping in there, all my gear in there. I'm going to have to moving it constantly in and out. It's just not a good solution. So I'm going to go back in the tent until the cabin's finished. Oh, hello, buddy. Hello. It's an American toad. Okay, I think the second flattest spot. Also today, I need to clean up this entire burn site from the tent. I think the next flattest spot is probably right here, right beside. So this is a totally awesome ATV trailer that has a tilt function on it. My stepbrother was selling his cottage. So 2 weeks ago, I went over to his place and he gave me the trailer, which I disassembled and put in the back of my hatchback car. And he gave me a steel weed whacker. He gave me some gas cans. What else did he give me? An empty propane tank. So just great gear. Unfortunately, the female piece on this trailer is not going to work with the hitch ball I have on the ATV. So I'm going to have to order a part for that. I guess I can use my sled though in the meantime. It's pretty good. Doesn't keep all of them out. You know, when you come in and out, you're going to let a few. It seems like, especially there's a few no-see-ums, but the vast majority of bugs, it keeps it out. What I'm going to use this for is kind of like it's a bug out shelter. That's literally what it's called. It's got a rain fly on it. But, you know, when I'm cooking and eating, this is going to be kind of like a mess hall, you know, somewhere you can sit and drink your coffee, you know, during the summer months. June, from my experience camping here in Climate Zone 4 of Ontario, June is the worst month for the bugs because they've just hatched and then they kind of die back. So July, the bugs are definitely still here. They're not as bad. And usually by about mid-August, there's a big drop-off and the bugs really go down because, you know, kind of in mid-August in this part of the continent, you start to have your first few cool nights, maybe down to, you know, low double digits, high single digits. This is pretty cool. Is 700 feet of something called oakum. And oakum is an ancient technology. It's a hemp braided rope soaked in pine tar. And for eons, probably thousands of years, they used oakum to waterproof boats, right? So say you're making it out of a hardwood like oak, you would literally hammer the oakum in between the gaps in the boards to make it watertight. And you'd probably have to do it, you know, redo it every year, but also for time immemorial for chinking on cabins. So that's what Dick Prenicky, if you guys have ever heard of that guy, an American dude who did and filmed himself building a log cabin up in the wilderness of Alaska. He used oakum back in 1965, and his cabin is still standing, and it's still apparently in good condition. So I can't wait to get to that point. The oakum, I'm not going to chink until I've got the windows and the door on. So just today I ordered the windows. They're going to be in next week, and I'm going to install all 4 of them, and then I'm going to do the door, and then I'm going to put in the chinking after that. And then I think the final thing I will do is the floor after. So that's the plan, Stan. Oh my Lord. Look how spacious it is in here. This is insane. And for whatever reason, there's like no bugs that got in as I was going in and out, which is amazing. This thing's huge, man. I can't recommend these tents enough. White duck, check them out. Freaking awesome. 9 feet tall in the center. Oh my God. I had such a good sleep. I needed that, man. I was not sleeping well down south for whatever reason, but I even got a fishing reel, braid. I got some brook trout lures. So I'm going to be trying these guys out in the river. I'm going to be fishing in the river for the first time. The only thing I forgot to get was a fire extinguisher. I need to go back in and get 2 small ones or 1 big one or 2 big ones. Before anything, I need to go grab a fire extinguisher. I just can't be sitting here. I just don't feel safe without that fire extinguisher, man. Starting your day with lemon water, nothing more refreshing. Just feels like it cleanses the body, the mind, and the soul. So I literally got the biggest fire extinguisher. Oh, that's en français. The biggest fire extinguisher they have, heavy duty, ideal for office, cottage, rural properties, etc. So that's the biggest one they got. I ended up getting a thermocell. I was in the town's outdoors store, and the guy recommended this. I got a second smaller fire extinguisher, just as a backup. Moving base camp, this reminds me of my 2 favorite Roman emperors, Valentinian and Valens. They were brothers, co-emperors, right near the end of Rome, the fall of Rome. And what's interesting about them is they moved the capital from Rome to 2 capitals. In the western half of the empire, they made Trier, which I believe is a city. It's either just inside the French border or just inside the German border today. They made Trier the western capital, and that's where Valentinian ruled. And then Valens ruled out of the east, out of Constantinople. What was interesting is that Valentinian, when he was building his new palace in Trier, he had a giant bear pit constructed in the middle of the throne room. And apparently, Valentinian was relatively level-headed, but if you pissed him off, he would throw you into his bear pit. He had 2 giant brown bears in the bear pit. And, commonly in North America, we sometimes call brown bears a grizzly bear, but it's basically the same beast that exists in Eurasia as well. And at that time, the biggest brown bears known to the Romans were in the Scottish Highlands. And what's so interesting is that the Scottish Highlands historically were heavily wooded. The Scottish Highlands you see today, in pictures and videos, they've kind of been denuded of all of their major forests. They've been cleared for agriculture, for fuel, for shipbuilding, etc., over the centuries. But back in Roman times, there was dense, dark forests all over Scotland, the Scottish Highlands. I believe they were called the Caledonian forests. You had these 2 bears captured in the Scottish Highlands and imported to Trier. And so he'd be feeding people that he didn't like to these bears in the bear pit. What the funniest thing about all of this is the names he chose for the 2 bears. One bear was called Golden Crumb and the other one was called Innocence. Like, LOL, what names for two man-eating bears. But anyways, I mean, Valentinian wasn't a totally evil guy. What he decided after, like, whatever it was, 15 or 20 years of loyal service, you know, eating people he didn't like, he actually had Golden Crumb and Innocence sent back to the Scottish Highlands and released back into the wild to enjoy both the wonders and the terrors of freedom in the wilderness. So I thought that was kind of cool. That's one of my favorite, just moving base camps like this today reminds me of this, one of my favorite stories, you know, from the Roman Empire about moving base camps or moving capitals in this situation. There is a crazy amount of room in here. There really is. So I'm 6'3", 192 centimeters, and look how tall the tent is here. So I actually found out what happened to my last tent. Look at this. I'm going to throw up this image. It's a still from a shot literally seconds before my tent caught fire in the last episode 2 weeks ago. You can see that for some reason, I guess I must have been jostling around the stove or something. The pipe leaned over, and it was lying right up against the tent flap. And that's how it caught fire. So I still have great faith in these tents. I lived in it for 6 months through the entire winter. Some days the fire was going all day long, right through that stove jack over there. So I'm still a huge fan of these tents, white duck tents. So guys, this is a 308 caliber rifle. It's a large caliber rifle. This is by Savage Arms. And this is a gun that I got about a year ago. Basically, from my research and what my Uncle Tim was telling me is that the first gun you get is a 12-gauge shotgun, which is what I had. Unfortunately, it melted and exploded in my fire, so I have to get another one of those because those are great for home defense, right? That's a great weapon to defend your homestead with. This guy is definitely more of a big game hunting rifle. But if you have a 12-gauge shotgun, You can hunt all different kind of upland game birds. You can hunt wild turkey, rabbits, squirrels. But in terms of big game, this is a great caliber and rifle. This rifle cost me about 500 Canadian dollars, and it has a stainless steel barrel. This is definitely an economically priced rifle. If I had to do it again, I'd probably buy like $1,000 one. This is like a full, just plastic stock and everything, but it's been good so far. I don't feel comfortable just having this weapon on the Homestead. And there's a reason that I didn't bring this gun up when I moved onto the Homestead. I brought my 12 gauge. See, this is a gun for kind of long range precision shooting. If you've got a bear charging you, or you've got some intruder who's high on drugs, or you've got a rabid dog, this is not really a great short range weapon to try to hit a moving target with. Definitely need that 12 gauge. I need a 12 gauge. That's my Yeti mug. These are my boots. These are my Schnee's boots. Or at least one side of one. The shotgun, this is synthetic stock, is basically gone. There's a bolt that's melted in there. See, the action's completely exploded because there were, in the magazine, there were 3 shells that I always kept in there just for safety, right? So I could load it quickly if I needed it. Ladies and gentlemen, Thor is with us. This thing has literally doubled in size. I cannot believe this. So now I have to ever so delicately cut all the way around these multiple branches and leaves. Operation Free Thor's Oak, mission success. Look, there's like multiple different branches it's kind of going off of. I think this is the main crown here. But what I'm gonna do, my limited gardening knowledge is, I remember listening to this podcast called Rewild Yourself, was with this guy named Gnarly Pippins, who is an expert in wild apples and rearing apples. And what he said he did with his apple trees to maximize their productivity, he weeded out all the other competing plants at the base of his apple trees. So I am going to try to take this moss and some of these other plants down here out. Okay, my other question for tree people. Should I be trimming these other branches off at the bottom to try to encourage growth in the main stem? Or does it really matter with a red oak like this? Let me know if I should be doing any trimming. Tell me, Ma, when I go home, the boys won't leave the girls alone. They pull my hair, they steal my comb, but that's alright till I go home. She is handsome, she is pretty, she is the belle of Belfast City. Ooga booga, this is good coffee. Wow, that was the first brook trout. I'll put up a picture of what a brook trout looks like that I've ever caught in my life. So all the fish that have been following and biting my lure have been roughly around that size. I think it's maybe kind of between, I'd say, 7 and 12 inches, which kind of makes sense for the size of this river. Now, there's a waterfall, which you guys have seen before, that's a few kilometers downstream from here where I go swimming. Fish are unable, this river flows into a bigger river, much bigger river. Bigger fish from the lake are unable to get over that waterfall. So in this river here, it's gonna be all brook trout, I think. And you know, at that size, personally, because I eat basically like 2 pounds of meat a day, I need to have at least 4 of those guys, I think, to have a meal. I don't think I'm gonna be heavily fishing out of this river. There's a big lake up to the northwest that I know, talking to the locals, has got lake trout, it's got smallmouth bass, it's got walleye, and then there's downstream, this river flows into a bigger river, and that's got all different kinds of critters. So I think I'm gonna do most of my food fishing in those 2 locations, but so cool. There's a lot of fish in here. I don't know if you noticed, but I've been getting strikes pretty much every cast below this beaver dam here. Oh. For the Thunder God. For the Thunder God is with us. Excellent. I shall redouble my efforts. Look at my Leatherman. It's like fused together. So guys, we got thunderstorms on and off for the rest of the evening, but we're gonna go start something, a project, the second phase of which I think is gonna be very dangerous. It involves felling 2 of the largest trees, I believe the largest trees on this property, and it has to do with the arrival of my pickup truck. Let's go. So this guy's fully dead all the way to the top. What we're looking at right now is the future parking spot for my pickup truck. And it's kind of comes down here around the bend from the road, and you cannot see this at all, this space here. And as I've hired one of my neighbors, we're gonna work together early next week on Monday, and we're gonna bring in 2 truckfuls of sand and then 2 truckfuls of gravel. First get a base of the sand from my current driveway that ends further up towards the road, get it all the way back here around the bend, and then 2 layers of gravel. Hopefully we'll do it off, but I think it looks pretty good. So something that I learned from my neighbors is when you want to pick a parking spot, it's best to have it around a big bend into your property, because that way, if somebody's driving by in the road, they can't see whether you're home or not. And what I'm also going to do is get an iron farm gate and always have it closed, so that when someone's driving by, the gate's always closed, and then they don't know whether the car is there or not, right? So it just adds an extra layer of security and difficulty to any would-be vandals. Now these 2 giants, that guy And this guy, this one's completely dead. I can't let it fall in the car. And this guy is kind of half dead. It's also very precarious. So that guy's leaning right towards the road. Gonna have to take that guy out and this guy out. Unfortunately, my gas chainsaw, the blade, the chain is just spent. I've sharpened it so many times. I just sharpened it and it's still dull as heck. So I need to buy a new blade, I think, before I can tackle these monster boys here. Holy cowabunga, ladies and gentlemen. That was the first 3 days back after being away for 2 weeks. Pretty action-packed 3 days. A lot of time in town, a lot of days restocking, but I feel like the base camp is back in action now. Didn't have a chance last week because I was cleaning up, I was finishing off the roof. But look, we got it all nice and cleaned up. We got the remaining firewood on top of the gravel entrance. We set up a bug shelter and mess hall, as well as storage unit. We got our new White Duck tent. Shout out to White Duck. Check them out, whiteduck.com. The best canvas tents, in my opinion. And then we got our new stainless steel grill, which I'm loving. And we got the build site over here finally cleared up of all the debris. We've organized our spare logs. We've got our 2x lumber organized from smallest to biggest. The remaining flashing for the roof. We've got 3 different kinds of plywood. And then we've got the scrap 2x and plywood over there. So I think we're looking pretty organized, guys, now. So next week, we're getting the windows in. So my objective next week is to do the windows and the doors. So check it out next week, guys. And, you know, not every week is going to be crazy building. I really needed to hit a reset on this week. Only 3 filming days. You know, usually I do 5. But I really just needed to clean up everything and organize everything before moving forward. So sorry there was no huge activity, guys. You know, I think this will never be this is not a pure building all the time channel. This is about the lifestyle, right? So I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week doing the windows and the doors on the cabin here on Wild Homestead. Ooga booga.